Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about games that have fully immersed me into their world, and this is gonna be a list of all those games. So I'm starting off with the game that immersed me fully for the first time ever, and that was Skyrim. So if you've been living under a rock and you've never played Skyrim before, it's a fantasy RPG where you play as the Dragonborn that has special powers that has him or her connected to the dragons that are out roaming around Skyrim. And this game is basically just a dragon slaying simulator where you go around and finding dragons, slaying them and taking their essence and using them to power yourself. And of course, given this is an RPG, you can go around doing side quests, getting involved with different factions, going to war with each other, getting married, getting a house, and overall just exploring the world to your heart's content. And this was the first game that had me fully obsessed with it, where I literally spent my entire winter break when I was in high school just playing through this game, and literally playing the game from when I woke up all the way until I went to bed. And I couldn't believe how immersive and amazing Skyrim was at the time, and it still is an incredible game given how many times it's been ported over to every console under the sun. And there's a reason for that, because the game is really that good if you are into RPGs, of course. And if you have not played Skyrim, I highly recommend you check it out. So that was Skyrim. This is the special edition. So back in 2015, a game that was announced that released a couple months after it was actually announced is, of course, Fallout 4. Now this is a very controversial entry to the series, given how many people liked Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Now I played a little bit of both of those games, but I never really could get into them. So when I got Fallout 4, I was absolutely blown away with the game. The level of immersion that was on display for me was at the level that it was with Skyrim. I felt like I was actually in the wasteland, exploring it, killing enemies, mutants and all that stuff. It was so cool. Now, I know this game has problems, and of course, like every Bethesda game, there's glitches, but so fortunately for me, the glitches were very minimal when I played through it, and I did play through it when it came out. And fun fact, this was the first and only game I've ever actually used the strategy guide to actually complete the game and get the achievements. And I did get through all the achievements, including the ridiculous workshop achievements, and that just attests to how immersed I was into this game and how involved I was. And overall, I think Fallout 4 is a great game, and despite its issues, I think it's worth playing through, especially now. I like to mention that Fallout 4 and Skyrim have current gen versions out right now on PS5, and I'm assuming on Xbox, I'm not sure, but for sure on PS5. So that was Fallout 4. So of course I can't talk about immersion in video games without talking about The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So the lead up to The Witcher 3 was very hyped, and I was not part of that hype. I thought it was overhyped, and I didn't actually play the game until months later, and I finally realized how wrong I was and how amazing this game is. So what Skyrim was, this game is, but does it way better, where the writing is actually really good. The characters, the open world, the side quests are more dynamic and more expansive in this game than they are in Skyrim. And overall, this is one of the best RPG games ever made, and was my favorite one for the longest time, and actually dethroned Skyrim for me. And overall, if you like fantasy RPGs, you owe it to yourself to play The Witcher 3. It's such a great game, such an immersive game, and is another game that's been ported over to other consoles, even on Switch, of all things, and even the Switch version's actually pretty good. But yeah, there's a reason why CD Projekt Red still references The Witcher 3 nowadays, and that's why they fully thought that Cyberpunk was going to be this amazing game at launch, because how well The Witcher 3 was. But unfortunately, we know how that turned out at launch. But overall, CD Projekt Red did an amazing job with The Witcher 3, and is highly regarded as one of the greatest RPG games ever made, and it still is, in my opinion. So that was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, another game I highly recommend. Now, of course, I want to talk about the greatest samurai game ever made, and that is Ghost of Tsushima. So this game is made by the same people that made Sly Cooper, the same studio, and this game is absolutely incredible. The story of Jin and how he becomes the ghost of Tsushima and his balance between being a samurai and being a ghost is pretty cool to see, and the open world is incredible. The way you just dynamically explore everything. You could be doing a main mission and then get side trailed to follow a fox or to liberate a enemy camp. It's just something else and very special, and I can't wait for Ghost of Yotai, given how much I love Ghost of Tsushima. And if you want the ultimate samurai experience, Ghost of Tsushima is that game. And the fact that this game runs beautifully even on PS4, because I played it originally on PS4, my base PS4, because I didn't get a Pro or anything like that, and it ran amazing and it looked amazing. And I highly recommend you check out the director's cut that is available on PS5 now, because that is the best version to play on console. But yeah, if you really like an immersive open world experience where you explore the world at your own pace and you don't have markers showing you where you're supposed to go and you just go out and explore to your heart's content, I highly recommend Ghost of Tsushima. So that was Ghost of Tsushima. Alright, so we're getting controversial in this video. And the next game is going to be Hogwarts Legacy. So for background, I wasn't the biggest fan of Harry Potter growing up. So I've only watched the first 3 movies to its entirety. And I've seen pieces of the last couple movies. But I never actually sat down and watched the entire franchise in one go. And I did so before this game came out. And I was absolutely blown away by the movies, and I can see why so many people love these movies. So my hype level for Hogwarts Legacy was through the roof, and when the game finally came out, it was everything I wanted and then some. So this game is basically the ultimate Harry Potter experience. You get to pick out your wand, you get to pick what house you're in and everything. You engage with quests. The way you explore Hogwarts is just breathtaking. You can easily get lost in the halls in Hogwarts, just looking at everything and trying to explore every nook and cranny of the actual castle. It's so cool. And of course the open world apart from Hogwarts Legacy is just as rich as Hogwarts itself. And overall, if you are a fan of Harry Potter, you owe it to yourself to play this game. And I know some of you probably don't want to touch this game given the creator of Harry Potter, but honestly, I think you should put that aside and try this game out, because this is a top-notch game. It's definitely the best Harry Potter game to ever be made, and I'm hoping that we get a sequel someday. So that was Hogwarts Legacy, another game I highly recommend. Now I highly recommend all these games on the list, of course. Next up we got Persona 3 Reload. So this was the first time I ever played a Persona game. I did play a little bit of 5, but I only played like 10 hours and I dropped off and played something else. So this was my first deep dive into the franchise, and I absolutely loved Persona 3 Reload. I was afraid to try this franchise out because of the social aspect of the game, but honestly, it's the reason why I love Persona 3 Reload so much. Like spending time with all the cast of characters that are part of your party and the ones that aren't. I just got attached to all of them. I tried to maximize all of my social links and hanging out with them as much as I can. And the game does get repetitive when it comes to the dungeon crawling, and like you basically just explore the dungeon and then you get into random encounters and stuff, and that's all well and dandy and stuff, but eventually you do kind of just run past everything. But the social aspect of the game is where it's mostly important and where the writing shines and everything. And overall, it was just a pleasure to just play through the entire game. I tried to maximize every social link, do every side quest. I even did every Elizabeth request as well. And overall, I was pretty bummed when I finished the game because I wanted more. And I know the DLC is out and I have yet to play the DLC, but I am very much looking forward to playing that too. But overall, if you like turn-based RPGs, I think this is a great place to start. And if you don't like the high school setting, because I know certain people don't like that aspect of the game, there is another game that you can try out that is just as good. But anyways, I'll leave that for the next slot. So that was Persona 3 Reload, another game I highly recommend. And speaking of the other game that is very similar to Persona is going to be Metaphor ReFantazio. Now this game is basically Persona but fantasy, so there's no high school setting. You're just a guy that's trying to help out the rightful king come out of his curse. And of course you have social links in this game as well. You have to plan out everything you want to do during the day, just like Persona, and maximize your social links, and you can just hang out with them. And of course there's dungeon crawling in this game, just like Persona, and it's turn-based, but it's more epic and more fantasy-like given the setting. And overall it's just a joy of a game, and I love it just as much as Persona 3 Reload. And Metaphor ReFantazio was my game of the year of last year, and I can't wait for DLC to come out for this game eventually, because I will be playing that. And the soundtrack for both Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor is just absolute fire. Like, I listen to both of these soundtracks all the time now. And overall, yeah, just a great turn-based RPG experience. And if you don't like the high school setting, I highly recommend you check out Metaphor, especially if you are a fan of fantasy. But overall, both games are great. Both games I recommend. And if you've never played any of the Persona series, you can honestly just jump into Persona 3 Reload. And for Metaphor, you don't need to play any of the Persona games or Shin Megami Tensei. You can just jump into Metaphor and just enjoy that on its own. That was Metaphor ReFantazio. The next game is going to be Red Dead Redemption 2. So I was extremely excited for this game when it came out, but when I actually played it when it released, I couldn't get into it because of the realistic mechanics. Even though the realistic mechanics aren't really that complex, but it was enough to deter me away from the game. And after a year, I finally went back and actually gave the game a proper shot, and I fell in love with it like pretty much everybody else. It is a very immersive experience. It's probably the best Western game ever made, and I love the original Red Dead Redemption, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is a better game, a more realized game than Red Dead Redemption, but both games are legendary on their own. Yeah, the story of Arthur is just a roller coaster of a ride, and everything that happens, and just exploring the open world, doing some activities that aren't particularly good to do, that gets you in trouble with the law, which in this game, you get in trouble with the law for practically anything, which is kind of hilarious. But overall, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a very good game, a very immersive game. It's easy to get lost in its world and its content, and it deserves to be on this list as well. So that was Red Dead Redemption 2. And of course, last but not least is going to be KCD 2. So this is the game I'm currently playing alongside AC Shadows, and this is by far the most immersive game I've ever played. The level of roleplay in this game, even though you don't play as your own created character, is incredible. So I literally spent the first 60 hours of this game just leveling up Henry. I spent literally like 3 hours just doing alchemy, picking flowers and stuff and herbs. I leveled up all of my weapon stats to the max, and my agility and my strength. I did every single side quest you can do in the first region before I even did the first main mission. So all those 60 hours were spent on all of that, and I finally made it to the second map, and who knows how long I'm going to stay on the second map before I roll credits. That just tells you how immersed I am with KCD 2, and it's the most immersed I've ever been in any game, given how much I've done and how little I've done in terms of the main story, and I'm already 60 hours in. And I will say, this game I was very afraid to try out because the reputation of the first one was it was very realistic and was very unforgiving, and this game is true to that as well, but it is fair, and if you put in the time and patience to actually level up your stats, it's honestly very much worth it. and seeing your skills improve in real time is very rewarding as well. And overall, the writing, the way the quests are dynamic, and how they expand to this massive quest that feel like main quests, but it is actually not, is incredible. And overall, if you like realistic games and a medieval setting, this game is a no-brainer for you. Now, this game isn't for everyone, so if you don't like realism or very deep, complicated mechanics, this game is not for you. And I didn't think it was for me, but I absolutely love it. And I'm going to be sad whenever I roll credits on it. So that was Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. So that was every game that I've played that I could remember that have fully immersed me into its world, that I actually felt like I was actually a part of it. And I would like to ask you what games you've played that made you feel the same way. Now, I probably have played other games that are not on this list that probably you felt immersed by. And once again, this is just my experience with these games and all the games I've played. So if certain games aren't on here, don't get angry or anything like that. Just tell me the games that you felt immersed by overall. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.